The Navajo Indian Reservation, situated in the northeast corner of the state, boasts some of the most beautiful scenery in the world. But for every natural wonder that challenges the desert sky, there are seemingly twice as many basketball hoops. Hoops which are just as prominent in the rusty landscape as anything else. Weathered and tired, these hoops are as ancient as the land and sturdy as the Navajo culture. These remote baskets, the scene for thousands of shots in the waning southwest sun, are a link between generations of Navajo clans and provided the nation with a hidden gem and love for the game of basketball.
You drive around the reservation, you see a goal in the backyard, everybody's backyard, and the kids are playing, and they just play year-round.
It's just our way of life. Kinship is still very strong.
Anywhere you go on the reservation, you see a hoop and a backboard. We've, I guess you could say, adapted basketball to our culture. It's our way of life at this point.
We see a lot of kids playing basketball outdoors, and it's amazing. You're driving through the community of how kids are making basketball what it is. Basketball is the hardcore, the passion of what brings the parents, the community members into the gyms.
The antiquities of the Navajo land are a timepiece. The rustic faded backboards and the foot-stomped ground that accompany them, the wind-beaten traditional hogans, and the earnest living are but minutes in the history of Navajo culture. An ancient culture which simply agrees with basketball.
Out here is more of a basketball, and my grandma always told me, if you're within the 4 sacred mountains, things will happen, things are good for you there. And that's where we are.
Basketball here on the reservations, it really ties into the culture as far as it being, the style of play, like I said, with the running. But I think more in depth as far as it connecting is, you have that ball, you hear the rhythm. It sounds like a heartbeat. You hear the pounding on the hardwood. It sounds like a heartbeat.
Everybody supports one another. Everyone sees the kids out there as their own kids too. And we take care of one another.
We love basketball in the Navajo Nation. That's what brings us all together, and there's a lot of support for one another.
The pride of the Navajo Nation is eminent. There are reminders everywhere of where the nation has come from and images of where it's headed. And living under the gaze of the ever-present southwest sun and on the sacred, beautiful, but barren land, it's a tougher version of life. But the passing of time can't and never will shake the pride of the Navajo Nation. Pride best represented by Native teams playing and winning. Not for one town, but for all of them.
There's that pride that that's a Native team out there playing, regardless of who it is. We're all natives, we all come from the same place. And there's that pride factor there, and it's always going to be there.
I think it's a matter of pride. As a people, Navajo people are a very proud people, a very proud nation.
There's a lot of pride. I just look at it as a way to, feel good too. I think that's one of the reasons why they all come and watch.
The fans here, a lot of them played the sport of basketball, and they have the knowledge of the game of basketball. So they want their kids, relatives, to be successful as well.
The faded backboards and makeshift courts sit as a vision of the past, but also as a reminder of the progress made. The empty, lonely courts on the reservation now bow to monolithic arenas in Window Rock, Ganado, and Chinle, a new dwelling place where clans, families, and fans meet, united in basketball.
When a child or a grandson or granddaughter plays, whether it's basketball, football, you'll see the parents there most times, the grandparents, relatives, they'll be there. So the whole family goes to cheer on.
We're family oriented, and I think that's one of the reasons why, it brings in a crowd. We have relatives in other communities too, and it just brings them together.
Basketball is what parents want their sons and their daughters to do, and it's a gathering place for the families and have a good time and mingle with each other.
I think basketball is no different. It brings the communities together. It brings the relatives together. I think it's good for the nation, But all in all, when the game has been played, we come back together and we're still kin.
When we return, 5 hours from Phoenix, it's game night in Chinle. The apex of high school sporting events in Arizona is about to take place. Game days have become more of a ritual than a mere event. Fans line up nearly 3 hours before the boys' varsity game to buy tickets. quickly transforming the 7,000-seat stadium in Chinle from an empty shell to a raucous arena akin to a professional sporting event.
And the Valley, I know typically you play in a smaller gym. You know, it's usually about 800 capacity. You know, 800 seating capacity, possibly 1,000. You know, here it's 8,000. You know, the intensity level is through the roof.
Especially how big this den is, the biggest gym in the whole reservation. It's just an honor to play at Chinle.
You're talking from 1,000 to 3,000, 5,000 in attendance because the passion of the ball game, the follow of hard basketball in the Navajo Nation.
Fans just being there, enjoying basketball. I mean, it is pretty exciting up here.
During the regionals, it gets packed. You know, we sell out in this den.
To me, that round hogan, that dwelling place, it has been with us ever since we emerged, you know, from the worlds below. It's still with us. It's a very sacred dwelling, and that's where I regard this as a dwelling place. This Chinle Wildcat Stadium.
In Navajo land, varsity basketball players are revered and known by name. This celebrity is a long way from early mornings spent shooting in sub-freezing weather, but it's a rite of passage for these young athletes who hope to join the ranks of past champions.
All the kids will look up to you just from playing basketball. It makes you happy, and pretty much everyone looks up to you for it, and they count on you.
You know, you go to the grocery store or something, people tell you, you know, you did good, you played good, keep it up and stuff like that. So, yeah, a lot of people will know you.
Here on the reservation, it's a lot more, fanatical as far as, you know, following the teams.
I recognize talent in one player on the team, and I think many kids do that right now. They mimic, you know, the kids that are playing now, you know, and they want to be like them.
Basketball is simple here. On the playground, there are no out of bounds, no rigid set of rules and boundaries. Just the next generation of basketball players whose love for the game was passed on from their elders and from those before them.
Friends and family just like to be proud of the people that they've grown up with and raised ever since they were little. And mostly everyone that plays ball here grew up here, so they just like to see how they transformed from when they were smaller to now when they're in high school.
I've always had basketball. You know, my grandfather played basketball. My father played basketball. You know, my younger siblings, they play basketball.
We have our kids growing up looking at the older kids of playing basketball and how the older kids play a huge role playing varsity basketball.
In every school, you have a person that their grandpa, their dad, their mom, somebody has played there, and that's going to continue. It's going to continue, and then there's a pride within that family to see that to continue.
The game will never change. It's the same whether it's played on a modest outdoor hoop or in a proper gymnasium. Basketball has been the consistent stabilizing force in a culture with a deep and complex past, a mutual love of everyone in Navajo land.
The game itself, it's just going to be there all the time, and they just want to keep playing, you know, no matter how old they get.
The community actually does care because they're at the games that they play.
Basketball is so a part of our culture, you know, it's almost the epicenter of everything.
Basketball is in everybody's blood. They love the game.
Tonight's game between Window Rock and Chinle is the mother of Rezball rivalries. This game, like hundreds of others before, was packed with action, rowdy fans, and eventually a winner. But on Navajo land, the winner matters half as much as the people playing. Native sons and daughters playing in front of their father and their father's father. Fans come to the game, cheer, and leave. And in the deafening silence of the night, wind rushes through these remote towns and rustles the eroding wood and rusted rim of an ancient outdoor hoop. This hoop may have seen better days, but rest assured, its best days are yet to come.